What's happening, everybody? Jim here from Clockwerk Industries. Welcome back to another shop video. Today we're going to be going through the process of installing the panel combs. I get this question quite a bit, actually. People just asking, from what the threads are to how they install them, if they can be installed with a glue or an epoxy or a double-sided tape even. And I'm going to kind of go through the process of how I install them and talk about some of the things you should look out for, like clearance behind the motherboard tray and things like that. This is going to be part of the Lorem Ipsum build, and that is my product placement build. I've put that together simply just to make these videos and do some tutorials and show the products in action inside the case, because that's something else I've also gotten from people that aren't so familiar with what we're doing here. Most people watching these videos understand, you're here for modding or machining or whatever. Random people see what I'm making and they're like, what the hell are those? What are they used for? And I realized, well, I didn't have a lot of pictures of them in the case or in action, I guess you could say. I have a lot of reposts from Instagram of customers using the cable management in their projects, and I try to reshare and repost those as often as I can. Speaking of which, if you're using the knuckle combs, the rake combs, panel combs, whatever, tag me on Instagram and I will repost it on my page and try to show everybody, show off your work. Those pictures are great because they actually show all the products in use. Even on my website, my product photos just have cables going through them. So that's a better description than just cable combs sitting there. But I want to get a build together that I was able to take pictures of. Like when we launch these new products, I'm going to load them up into this case, and then I'll be able to take pictures and show exactly what we're doing here with these products. And I can take advantage of that by making these tutorial videos and kind of showing you guys how I install the products into the case and talk a little bit about that process. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab the Mastercase Pro 6 build, bring it out into the shop because I got it sitting inside while we're working on a bunch of things. We got a bunch going on here. The new machine's gonna be here. I think I touched on this in the last video, but the new machine's gonna be here in about a week, or should ship in about a week. And we have a lot of things to move around in that time. So we've been busy planning that and getting things kind of prepped. I started moving cabinets around and putting things in storage and focusing on lean. I think I had gone over that too, where I want to make sure everything is kind of where it's supposed to be. I don't want to have one impact wrench that has to be over there by the fixtures. I want to have one at every machine and the fixtures. There's no reason to have to keep coming around back and forth throughout the shop just to get the impact wrench. That's part of like the lean process. You want to minimize the unnecessary footsteps all around the shop. Have what you need at where you're working at. I'll go into a lot more of that in the vlog series once the new machine gets here and I start going into how I'm developing our processes and stuff like that. So let me go grab that case and we'll jump into that. Okay, so here we are at the back of the Pro 6, and basically the process really is about as straightforward as you would think. The back of these combs have these M4 holes. And one thing to know is now with these newer panel combs that are done on the fixtures, the aluminum and the acrylic are not the same size. In order to get these on the fixtures, I had to tighten the space on the open combs and actually spread out the spacing on the closed combs. That way, both the open and the closed could be cut on the same fixture. That was the best way I can dial it into the fixture process to eliminate needing to do an extra 12 fixtures or whatever. So eventually I would like to get the acrylic ones down to the same size, but with the new products coming out, the panel combs are gonna go in a different direction. They'll still be the same combs, but they'll be under a new name, and I'm gonna have a new hole pattern that's gonna match the hole pattern of all the other products. So I'm planning on getting a new laser, I think, hopefully by the end of this year. That's the next machine goal, is the laser and a couple 3D printers before we get the industrial milling machine. So those are some kind of like utility machines. Like the laser we use for quite a bit of stuff, so that's a high priority. The cable combs over at mainframe, the panel combs, there's a lot of parts that get cut on the laser, so it's definitely a worthy investment to get a higher end laser, and I'm looking at a Trotec Speedy 360. The capability of that machine will allow me to get a much more precision cut on the acrylic panel combs, so that should let me match the same size. So then the goal is to be able, because right now the difficult thing is for the acrylic combs, these will not be able to be done on the threading fixture that I have designed for the aluminum combs. So that kind of causes a problem because the acrylic ones sell at a higher rate than the aluminum ones. The aluminum ones are our most premium product here. So the acrylic ones do tend to sell at a little bit higher of a number. The acrylic open ones are probably the best selling panel comb. And I need to be able to get that onto the threading fixture. So we're gonna be tweaking the designs. But for now, just know that the aluminum ones are not gonna be the exact same size as the acrylic ones. In what I showed before, this is the M4 thread. The reason it's the M4 is because when I designed my first panel comb years ago, in 2016, I think, it was for my Cypress 29 project. I made an open panel comb, but I used acrylic adhesive because I had an acrylic motherboard tray, I had acrylic cable or panel combs. I just glued them in permanently because it was a mod. There was not much going to be changed. This was not a upgradable build. This is a one aesthetically ecosystem in here. It's not going to change at all. If I needed to, I would pop the comb off to change the cables or something. I did get some good feedback. I might be going to revisit that build, and it never got the final proper send off that it deserved. I kind of took some finished pictures in the shop when it was done, but that build I worked on for so long, and it deserved a little bit of, it needs a little bit of upgrading and like the final send off, the proper final send off. The cables got rushed because I was trying to get it done before QuakeCon the one year, and I soldered on extensions. I didn't have mainframe's Telio sleeve. I was using paracord, and it just doesn't look how I want it to look. So I do want to kind of revisit that as part of one of these build series, and it'll maybe be like a 4 or 5 part series of refurbishing and finalizing Cypress 29. But when I made the first panel combs, they were just glued on. And then when Hans Peter Saul, you know him as Pope, he's on YouTube. He's got the 9-step cable management guide where you can see him use his panel combs that he designed. That's where the laser cut closed acrylic version came from. So when he reached out to me about manufacturing those, I decided that was a good time to bring my open version into market as well. So we had his closed version, my open version, and I just decided to run with M4 threads because that's how his had been designed as well. So that's where those came about. So if anybody's kind of wondering why I chose that thread design. So I'm gonna go ahead and zoom you in here. And basically, I take these holes here, I'll take a pen or whatever, and I'll mark on the case where the hole is. I'll go ahead and when I drill, I'll use a 5mm drill bit. That will give me enough wiggle room all the way around the screw to get like the final tweak in alignment. So if it's off just a little bit, your holes aren't perfectly straight, one thing you should go back in with is like a carpenter square or a machinist square, and make sure that your holes are as level as possible, so your panel comb stays straight. You can use features of the case, like that's what I'm going to be doing here. That'll help it keep things in, you know, symmetrical and in alignment and looking nice and clean. So you don't have one panel comb that's like off to the side on an angle or anything like that. You don't want to. You're spending the money to get premium cable management. You're spending the time and all the meticulous effort to get this cables looking nice. You want everything to be lined up and looking good. So just kind of pay close attention to that. You could even measure like off of a feature. So you know we have this edge of the motherboard tray here. You can once you mark where these holes are going to be, you can use a square off the bottom of this to mark a straight line up the back of the motherboard tray, and then you can take a measurement from the bottom and have them equally spaced. For me, I'm going to use this feature here, which is this like break in the metal, and then I'm also going to use this stamped area here as my alignment. So I'll have one down here, one up here, and then I'll probably put one more up here. This will be where I put like a 16 pin, because this motherboard has a 12 pin EPS. Right now I'm only going to be using 8 pin. So I'll probably put just for future proofing, I'll probably put a 16 pin up here, and then I'm going to have a 24 pin vertically right here. And then that'll give me a nice route into the case. I do want to cut this section out so I can align the panel comb in here perfectly where the motherboard will plug in on the backside. And I can actually look back here and see where the pin out is for the 24 pin on the motherboard tray. So I'll know kind of where I want to align the 24 pin comb and make it where it pretty much perfectly comes out of there and folds over into the motherboard connection. I moved the case over here where we do our sanding for material prep and stuff. Kind of just rigged this setup once I got rid of the router, and we were using the router table as a bench for sanding. We're going to be getting a belt-fed sander, so that's how we're gonna prep the sheets, and I'm gonna build a vacuum system for it. So we still have the dust collector, so I'll set up the dust collector and we'll just be able to feed the sheets through instead of sanding it by hand right now. I really like the brush finish and we're gonna continue to go that route, but we need a more automated way of doing that anyhow, so that's what we plan on doing once the new machine is in here. But for now, it works as a little dirty area and I could vacuum it up later. Basically, I'm gonna cut this tab off here, and then while the case is over here, I'm gonna go ahead and do the drilling. I never understand or understood why they have the mounting for the motherboard tray, but never put the hole for your cables right at the connector. It's always offset and you gotta fold and twist your cables in there. I guess if you're not going for aesthetics or anything like that, none of this matters, but as these cases developed and began to be innovated by modders, you would think that they would eventually realize, yeah, we should probably have the hole cut. And it's not just Cooler Master, I'm not picking on them, it's every case manufacturer out there unless you've got a custom case. Anyway, that's here nor there. I'm gonna go ahead and get this part cut out. I'm gonna put some U-channel rubber around that, and while I'm over here, I'm gonna get the holes drilled for the panel combs. As I cut this, I'm just taking a very easy, light cuts. I burned out all my good cutting discs, so I got one of the cheaper ones, and they can explode if you put too much pressure on. I just want to knock the edge off here. Just remembered I already had the marks on here for the alignment of the panel comb. I think there's the front. So basically what I do here, flip it sideways like that, mark the center of the holes, and do the same up here. And I'm gonna go ahead and use a punch to prep the drill hole. I decided to bring the bottom one up because I didn't know if this stamped area in the case would interfere. Same as here, I brought it up to this lip. I think I could clear this lip easier than this stamp in the case because I'm gonna be using the open version on this. All right. And you can see these holes are a little bit larger. They'll be perfect for an M4, and I'll have plenty of wiggle room to make minor adjustments in the alignment of the panel comb. And right now I'm gonna deburr them, and I have these are great. These zero flute, they're technically called, chamfer tools. They're very good for using a hand drill. If you're using a 4 flute, 2 flute, 3 flute on a hand drill, you won't have enough torque and pressure to get a nice clean chamfer. With one of these, it works very well in a hand drill, and you can get a nice smooth chamfer on all your holes and clean up all the edges with almost no effort at all. That's much better now. I'm gonna hit it on the other side. it's always good to clean up any kind of drill hole you're doing so you don't catch any snags. You could scratch up your panel comb on there. Especially once they're anodized, they're pretty scratch resistant, but when they are raw aluminum, they're like a scratch magnet, and I make so much effort in here to make sure that those ship out without any scratches on it. If there is one that goes out, it probably happened in shipping, or it was so small that I didn't even catch it, but we do a pretty good job inspecting all of them before they go out. I'm actually even considering making the silver raw aluminum one maybe an increased price, because we put so much effort into that, and then having a silver one that is just raw anodized, where it makes it look a little bit more grayish silver, and you lose a lot of that reflection. But man, keeping those things pristine to get them out the door is almost more difficult than making them. So all these holes are done now. I'm gonna go ahead and take it back over to the bench and mount up some panel combs. One thing I'm gonna do really quick while we have the case in the position that it's in, I have this rubber U-channel. This is a classic modding accessory. I think this is probably from McMaster Car. You can also pick it up from Bill Owen at MMPC Tech. I remember I got a lot of my first modding accessories from his shop. This basically just covers up any jagged edges from when you're dremeling and cutting pieces off, or using any other kind of tool to remove the metal. If you have an open, rough thing like this, even though I filed it down, it still doesn't look great. So this U-channel is perfect at covering up all those ugly cuts and just cleaning things up and making it look a lot nicer. It makes a world of difference adding this U-channel to all your cuts. So because I removed that area, I want to put some of this on here, and it basically just goes around. It will even do some tight corners. They make it in different sizes. Speaking of which, so this one here in this bag, you can see, is a smaller size. If you go to McMaster, they have a ton of different sizes. I can't remember if McMaster lets you open a non-business account, but I don't think they go digging. I think you can just, if you have a modding name and even if you don't have an official business opened up, you can just use that. I think that's how I started on there. Now, sometimes this bigger one it might not look as good. I might have to go back down to the smaller one. No, that might look all right. Yeah, if you get it tucked nice in the corners there, yeah, that'll be all right. Just for the sake of the video, I'll leave it right there for now. I might do some final tweaking to it. Another way you could do with these is, if you see some of mine, they're cut on this 45-degree angle like that. Basically, it lets you make a nice corner meet up. So what I'll do sometimes, if I really want it to look super clean, is I'll cut short strips and I'll just have it in here, and I'll make them meet up in a 45, and it looks really clean. It just depends on, your application and how you need it to look. So I'll leave that like that for now. You can see here I have quite a assortment of M4 screws. So here's a flathead cap screw. These are going to give you the most low profile mounting for behind your motherboard tray. This here is the socket head cap screw. These are going to have the least amount of clearance. The head on these screws are pretty large. It should actually fit behind the motherboard, but it depends on the pinouts of different components on there. Sometimes the little soldering studs that are coming through, that could interfere. Now here also you can get low profile socket head cap screws. It won't be quite as low profile, but a button head cap screw is going to be pretty similar to this. But the flathead, if you have a chamfer in there, that's going to definitely get you the most clearance. The problem is though, some of these cases are very thin, and if the material is really thin, it'll bottom out in the bottom of this screw here into the panel comb before it tightens up on the panel. So you got to kind of pay attention to that. Right here you have the button head cap screw. So that might be a little bit lower profile than the low profile socket head cap screw. But I would say I go flathead, then this, then low profile socket head cap screw, then socket head cap screw. I'm going to use this one right here, but it's up to you and your application. So these ones are 0.308, and that's inches. I think these are 8mm. Yeah, 8mm. So these are M4 by 8mm. So 8mm is going to be plenty of clearance inside the panel comb, even with a really thin gauge motherboard tray like I have here. So I'm gonna get this 24 pin mounted, and I believe the depth, I'm thinking off the top of my head, the depth you have to deal with is close to like 0.35, I think is how deep the threads go. But I would personally give yourself about a 1/4 inch engagement into the threads and you should be good. I mean, even an 1/8 inch will hold, so you don't have to go super deep into the panel comb to get it to mount. But I'm just gonna get this snugged up really quick. I'm gonna get the other ones popped in too. I'm just putting in a handful right now to get you the idea what they would look like. I wanted to kind of put a bunch of different colors in here for this example, but now I don't think I'm gonna have time in this video to do any sleeving stuff. I also might have to file these holes out. Might have made my markings a little too close together. Yeah, I'll probably have to tweak those holes a little bit, but that's the cool thing. You got plenty of clearance back there to play around. And yeah, so those are the first two, and then there'll be one more down the bottom. Anyways, I hope that kind of gives you a little insight into installing your panel combs into your case. There's various ways you could do it. In the future, there's a variation of these that I'm working on that will have a counter bore on the top. So you can actually, say you have a panel that you want to use like a wood screw, or you have like a threaded holes in your panel, and you want to run the screws in from the top. I have a variation, but those won't be available in production until the threading fixture is done, because I'll be able to do that operation on the threading fixture. So I think that's gonna wrap it up for this one. It was really nice to be able to actually get back into doing a little bit of modding and filming it. I don't think I've done a whole lot of that in well over a year, like that actual kind of work in a video. So I'm really excited. I think my buddy Steve is gonna be editing this video, and hopefully, you know, if we can get something worked out, I would really like to get consistent with at least a video up a week. And if I could have someone helping me edit, or at least helping me edit every other video, I think I can really keep up on that. So anyways, this was a lot of fun. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it all the way to this point, all the way at the end, please like, subscribe, and share. I'm really trying to get over 1,000 subscribers, because I think that could get pushed into the algorithm and start growing the audience here on YouTube. And I really do plan on putting a lot more consistent effort into getting these videos out. And I really want to get more into these type of videos. That's why this Lorem Ipsum build got me really excited. And also with the new Tormach coming here, the custom order hiatus is going to end, and the work area on that machine is 11 by 18. So I should be able to basically make a manifold for any front, bottom, top, mid plate, any size manifold in the case for those areas without any problems. So the goal at first is to like open up like 5 tickets for the first month and add 5 custom orders, and just start from there and kind of build up the custom orders until it meets where we're at in the production workflow. If custom orders start taking away from production workflow, we'll have to back off the quantity a little bit. But I have a feeling, you know, PD, me and him are working on optimizing our workflow. We have plenty of room to grow there. So I think we can scale up, and we could probably realistically get like 10 custom orders done a month on top of, you know, our regular production without interfering at all, and probably still leave room to work on mods and builds and the fun kind of, the fun content that I've been wanting to try to get up, and actually doing a full build from start to finish, because I do need a new desktop workstation PC, and I do plan on doing a mod for that. So anyways, before I start rambling on again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.